Well, this setup has got me thinking about starting a whole new channel where I review cars, but maybe that's for another day. In this video, I want to talk about the frustrations I felt whilst watching Get Back, the epic 9-hour documentary on the Beatles by Peter Jackson on Disney. And the frustrations lie within probably quite a lot of insecurity I had when I was in a band, and how I demonstrated those insecurities by maybe not being part of the team. And I always wanted to be in a band. That was my dream, and yet no one else took it as seriously as I did when I was 13, you know. I would take control of the situation, and I didn't allow for the fun as much. Now, don't get me wrong, we definitely had fun. And excuse me, I'm a little bit under the weather at the moment, so I've kind of lost my voice, but, you know, going for the husky vibe. I think watching the Beatles demonstrate exactly what it means to be in a band is unbelievable. I was blown away by how painful it was sometimes, how awkward, how lighthearted, and all the different things that you've kind of learnt about, you know, hearing, you know, whether it was Let It Be, the original documentary, being a breakup documentary when it wasn't, and then seeing the dynamics between each of the band members. And I was just so blown away by how all of them were so different, and how they reacted to each other when demonstrating. Like, I loved this one scene where George Harrison was playing a song he'd just written, and they were all standing around and they were listening to it, and he just had the lyrics on his knee and he was playing unplugged, and they were all stood around him listening. And then I was blown away by how attentive Ringo was. He'd sit at his drums and just listen. And quite a lot of the time is them just fleshing out ideas. Paul McCartney, Paul McCartney is a phenomenal artist in his own right now, and in terms of being English, and he's very highly praised. And seeing him 28 years old, younger than me, just sat working without being distracted by all the people around. I was blown away by that. The cameras. The thing that made me really feel what they were feeling was when they were in the original, the first studio, Twickenham Studios, and they had, you know, this lighting going on, and then they were just in the middle of this gigantic room, and, you know, a sound stage or, you know, filming stage, whatever, and how unpleasant it would be to be writing in that environment. You have no give. And they talk about it. They talk about how frustrating it is, and how, you know, and then the director, well, I guess the filmmakers are talking about, can they lower the volume of their instruments so that they can hear the talking, and then they realize they're being recorded, their conversations are being recorded, and there's some really light-hearted conversations that go on there, and it just blew me away how they were managing to be so creative whilst all these other things that were going on. And it does give me hope that maybe in the next decade, because of us being able to film ourselves, like I'm filming myself in the middle of Catalonia and able to talk to you about how I'm feeling and document myself rather than just, keep creating new ideas. I think, yes, you might say YouTubers or content creators are possibly getting distracted by having to build YouTube channels because they're not being able to have, documentary crews come and film them. But I'm very excited about really continuing to open up the process, because if I'd seen this documentary at 15, it would have changed my life. And it's kind of changed my life now, and then all the dispelling of the rumors, like Yoko Ono, she's just sat there. Nowadays, if you had a girlfriend of the band, they would be sat there on their phone, not doing all the little things that she was doing, or sometimes she was writing, and that would be disheartening now to watch. But back then, she was just sat there so quiet. John Lennon, such a mysterious figure to me. He's still, I was kind of missing him, especially in the first episode. It's very much a Paul McCartney dominated, with all his writing and then him coming up with Get Back on the bass and it all being captured. I also thought it was extraordinary because they had so much more audio footage than they did video footage. Exactly how they managed to craft the audio-only parts by every time one of them was talking, to avoid a lip-syncing problem, have the back of the person who's talking, their head on show, and then the band reacting to them, or, the numerous other people reacting to them. I just thought Peter Jackson did such a wonderful job. It really is mind-blowing, and I'm going to have to check my notes because I've definitely gone off on a tangent. But just, there were so many eyes on them. The one thing I loved that really tied in my classical music education into the whole thing and made me realize how musicians existed at that time was them talking about Benjamin Britten and how they were jealous about how, was it EMI? I might have got that wrong. EMI were treating him, and then how they couldn't get an 8-track, and they were like, well, the Beach Boys would get an 8-track. And you're just like, that's so phenomenal that they're in one sentence talking about Benjamin Britten and then they're talking about the Beach Boys. And, for me, when I was younger, songwriting was kind of frowned upon when I was at school. And then I got to university, and university was a lot more open-minded about all the different genres of music. And I actually ended up studying the Beatles for a module and writing an essay on them and everything, and really talking about their recording techniques and how they, they were just pioneers. And it made me appreciate them so much more, but also it gave me permission to be a pop musician, because it made me realize how stunning pop music can be in a 3.5 minute or 5 minute song. And the fact that they're there talking about Benjamin Britten, who's also someone I studied, and they're talking about him like a peer. I don't know, it was just extraordinary. There was one very, very, I don't know how to describe it, but it was another frustrating moment that I really felt for George Harrison when he was getting electrocuted by the microphone. And yes, this was the late 60s. So, the quality of music equipment now is obviously a lot more improved, and then a lot more health and safety. But when I was 15 and in bands, we would sort of, I don't know how you describe it, short circuit ourselves. And I would get electric shocks from microphones. I don't know, not short circuit, I'm being completely naive about that. But Anyway, all the frustrations are so relatable. I love it when you hear, all right, come up with something better then. Just the dynamic between them. George Harrison getting frustrated that they weren't really listening to his songs, or taking them seriously. You can tell Paul McCartney is there being, there's a reason he went on to do what he did. Paul annoying George and then calling him out. Sometimes they were really at odds. I also loved how much they were part of the process of what the project was going to be. And they were discussing, the locations for the concert. And they were like, we should do it somewhere that we're definitely going to be kicked out. And then obviously you see the policeman later getting all frustrated, not being able to see them on the rooftop. And they were like talking about the Houses of Parliament at first. And then, they talk about divorce. McCartney says, well, I mentioned it in the last meeting about them breaking up. And the last thing that I really want to talk about is the deadline. The beauty of a deadline. And Lennon jokes, when I'm up against the wall, Paul, you'll find I'm on my best. Guitars fell over. The music stand moment with Ringo. We've all been there. It was just so relatable. Then them joking, they won't even give us a free Fender amp. And then copious amounts of tea. But the discipline that they showed by showing up and setting themselves a deadline, and all because of Ringo starring in that film. It was such an experience to watch. And you just felt like the extra band member. And also, their willingness to accept other people's opinions. I was just absolutely blown away. Absolutely blown away. And I would love to know what you're thinking about it in the comments below. Because it's... Yeah. Anyway, I'm just going off on a tangent. I've just literally been like, you can tell by my face how excited by it I was, how frustrated. I felt all their emotions, every conversation they were having with each other. I was just absolutely blown away. And I know I keep trying to end this video, but obviously I have to talk about Billy Preston turning up and them accepting him into the band, and him obviously being, author of those musical moments. Like, I was like, there are so many things here that break the rules of what being in a band is. But this is the Beatles. They are one of the only bands that truly matters. And they did it all. Okay, right. I better embark on this journey. Thank you for watching my stream of consciousness and passionate rant, I guess. Not rant. About this documentary. I'm so happy it exists. If you haven't watched it, I know 9 hours might seem daunting, but it's very much worth it. It's beautifully done. Everything about it is exquisite. And you really feel like you are part of the band or part of their team. And yeah, okay. All right. I'll see you very, very soon.